Hello and welcome to Oh No, Not Another Podcast. I'm Kaameel, joined by co-host Mr. Snare, and our special guest tonight is none other than Barry Louzada Anthrax from Metal State. Sorry for saying your first name twice. Just one of those things that happened.
How do you do the legendary intro and cock up none other than Barry?
You know what?
Barry.
Let me just be honest with you. White people names are a little hard for me. John, Barry, William. I struggle with that sort of thing. Huh?
You just went there, bro.
Oh, that's perfect, man.
How are you gentlemen doing tonight?
Other than being the minority, I'm perfect.
Oh yeah. Actually, I'm kind of annoyed at you guys because I was planning to come home. I wrote an exam today. I was gonna come home, hate life, and lose at Dota. But now I have to talk to people.
Oh man, such a hard job, sitting on a TeamSpeak discussion and speaking, Mr. Snare.
Oh, bruh, you have no
We
idea
feel
how
your
difficult
pain.
this is, man.
We feel your pain. I'm gonna head into the straight up question. Mr. Barry, why do you refuse to host a Dota 2 tournament?
Why do I refuse? I don't think I've ever refused. I just tell George no. That's my auto response to GMAX. Pretty much everything. No.
That makes sense.
But it has nothing to do with Dota or anything like that. My outlook or the way I'm looking at things is not based purely on anything other than what I need to do for Metal State at this point. And there was a lot of stuff happening, this year. There really was a lot of stuff happening, and I felt the last thing that we needed was another massive tournament that was just going to overshadow everything else and everything that's everyone was doing.
Right. And that was actually more of a joke question. What I actually wanted to ask you, because as I see all these tweets going out, Metal State hosted Dota tournament, this, that. But I feel like, could you give us actually some insight into what actually goes into hosting a tournament, as tournament organizer from Metal State?
Okay, I feel like I need to ask this a joke on a question. Because I don't want to go into that full explanation and then you end up with
just lol.
Yeah, dude.
No, this is a serious question.
Yeah. Okay,
this is a serious one.
So what goes into hosting a tournament? Well, firstly, from my perspective, I think more important than anything else is to ensure that the MGOs and the players are looked after. So purely from my perspective, the first people that need to know about the tournament would be the MGOs and their players, and they would need to be informed quite timeously about everything that needs to happen with regards to the tournament and what's expected of them, and what they expect from the tournament organizer, because it's not all about what the tournament organizer wants, it's also about what the MGOs and the players want as well. So I don't want to get too involved, too in depth, or go too in depth about this whole thing, but the simple fact is that there's so much involved with regards to planning of venues, just making sure that when you organize the games that need to be played, that you don't have certain teams playing on the same evening over and over again on a weekly basis. Some teams might find it unfair that one team only has to play on a Monday, and they might have to play on a Monday and a Wednesday. So, just writing rules for the tournament, ensuring everybody's covered, making sure that you're covered from a gambling perspective. You need to be, or should be, registered with ESIC, which is the eSports Independent Coalition. They're the guys that ensure that if somebody cheats in your tournament, that the rest of the world is informed, and that if there's any sort of legal ramifications behind it, because you have sponsors now that are involved, and if you're throwing R1 million as prize money at this tournament, that's damaging to those sponsors if some guy or some team goes and wins the tournament because of cheating or hacking. So, I mean, just for example, Metal States, we spent a good couple of R1 million on that tournament, and who pays back the money? Feels like it's a South African thing, but who pays back the money when some team goes off, gets paid, and then it comes out later that they've actually cheated or they won unfairly? So, I mean, these are just some of the few things. So you want a venue now, you need to decide Well, is it accessible to the airports? Can people get to it? Is it is there enough parking? Is there enough? You have to get health and safety out to make sure that if you're going to have this many people in the event, that that it's all okay. Is there internet? Because most of these big venues don't really cater for high-speed internet, so you have to ensure that those kinds of things are available as well. Then you start to deal with the talents, and they're the guys that need to, to cast all your games. So they need to make time to get out to your studios to cast the games during the week, make sure that they're fed, make sure that they're happy, they have contracts, they've got all of their money that they need to get paid, because at the end of the day, if we want esports to be professional, everybody needs to be paid, right?
Yeah.
Including the casters and down to the admins, down to every single little person. Then it's stage design. I mean, dude, this question could go on forever.
I think we could actually have an entire podcast just on this question alone, right?
You could. I mean, I'm giving you like a super condensed version of this, and I'm not even halfway through the list of things. But ultimately, what goes into a tournament is a lot of passion and dedication, and you need to understand from all aspects of the sphere, right? The gamers, the tournament organizers, the casters, the talent. You need to understand from all of those people's perspective what is required. And when you do decide to do it, you need to do it with all your heart, with passion, and you need to make sure that you try and get it as right as you can, because nobody's going to get it perfect.
So based on that, actually, what would you say is, with the exception of the medal states, obviously, which tournaments do you think are the best run in SA?
That's a hard one. I don't think that any tournament organizer is doing something wrong, or there's a best way. I mean, like you say, I'll always believe that mine is the best to a certain extent, but even I watch and go after my tournaments, and I go and very critically analyze everything that happened and everything that didn't happen and how it should have happened, and if there was anything that I can improve on. Certain things like at the Valkyrie Challenge, I wasn't happy with the fact that there wasn't actually any space for the girls to go, and guys, we've had another tournament there, but for the teams to go and just between maps go and rest. So and that's where it comes down to venue, and ETech are already working on sorting that out in their studio. But the simple fact is that ESL have done a great job, and so have VS Gaming. Everybody has their own idea and vision as to how their tournaments should be portrayed and seen. And the simple fact is that nobody in this country is actually going to get it to the level of ESL or PGL. I mean, I've been there, and when I was at the PGL Major this year, an interesting little fact is that just the booths alone, and there were two of them, were $250,000. We don't spend that kind of 5 million rand. We don't
more
spend
than 5
that.
million right now.
Yeah, we don't spend that on an entire tour. I mean, I'm pretty. There's numbers that go around, but unless they're confirmed by people, I can't say. But if you had to include just the prize money of $1 million and the booths, nobody has spent that kind of money on esports in this country.
So, given international tournaments who are prone to spend this kind of money, right, to deliver this product, is there anybody that you specifically think that you drew a lot of inspiration from? Because there's a lot of different ways that people orient tournaments and organize them, and every time a tournament finishes, there's always some subset of the community talking trash about how awful it was, whilst other people are praising it. So, what do you think? Like, what's the medal state model modeled after or take after?
I've been to every major tournament organized in the world, a competition that's been run by every single one of them. DreamHack, ESL, PGL, Star Ladder, and the simple fact is that, and it goes back again to what I said, everyone has their own style. Everything is unique. So DreamHack, for me, I loved their stage in Stockholm, Jönköping in Sweden, and that was where it was a big square, and the players basically sat back to back, and they could have two teams playing at the same time. or 4 teams rather, playing at the same time. Sorry, two sets. And I enjoyed that. Then I saw the PGL Major, and for me, that was just an incredible stage, an incredible setup. I mean, the cameras and everything that was there was amazing. This WESG, that was just, I mean, I saw them build the entire set for the WESG tournament Thursday night, and Friday morning they were ready to go.
Wow.
This is the level at which these guys are doing this because they've done it so much, right? And it's not about which one inspired me. Esports inspires me. It's about doing as much as I can with what we with what we have available to us at this stage. We're still learning, and the simple truth of the matter is that nobody funds. Valve is funding that 1 million rand prize pool. Those guys have to come up with the rest. And until we can actually put in the numbers, and I'm not saying to people we need 2 million people watching a stream. Shucks, I'd be happy if we had 500 people watching a stream. And you'll always get smack talk about how events are run. And as Thorin so adequately put it once, gamers are a very special breed, and I'm allowed to say this because I am a gamer. I have my own, my own, like, it's like the whole, like, if you're a gamer, if you're whatever, you can say things. I know you guys have special privileges as well. That's I don't have. But the simple fact is that gamers want a first world-class production, and they don't want to pay anything for it, and they don't want it, and they want it to be perfect.
Yeah.
And that's okay. They can want that. That's fine. And that's what makes it us as tournament organizers strive for that. Strive to make that happen. But at the end of the day, there's nothing that's perfect. Even ESL, even, Star Ladder, PGL, they all get it wrong. It happens.
And in a grand scheme of things, like, although we talk about these events and like the prestige and like the level of attention to detail that's taken, and just the grandeurs of these events. I mean, if you just compare, like, compare the international to an English Premier League football game, in esports, you've never had that kind of, like, if the game's starting at 8 o'clock, it's going to start at 8 o'clock on the dot. I've never watched a Dota stream that's been like that. And just, esports as a whole has a long way to go, I feel, still. And South Africa is no different. I think we, like, are more than a couple of steps behind. But I feel like we really are getting there slowly but surely.
So one thing that Metal State prides himself on is that every game that we've run has to date been on time and has finished within the time frame that we have set for ourselves. I suppose the question for me as a tournament organizer in South Africa, and it's probably one of the reasons why guys are a little bit hesitant to go there, is that one of them is why would you say that Dota never starts on time?
I don't have that many theories about it. My personal thing, it's not a professional opinion, but just computers just never work. When you dig something on a computer, it's just one of those things.
Honestly, I think Dota players in general, of the gamers that exist, right? I think it's a harsh truth that as Dota players we are fairly entitled, and as a result of feeling, people who generally behave in entitled fashion don't take other people into consideration. You'll see this by how in a game of Dota, right, there's nothing worse that triggers people the most than when your opponent pauses, but there's nothing more logical and reasonable than when you need to pause and your opponents are assholes for not taking your life into a consideration. But people tend to really be really bad at extending that to others. So, and I've been on teams before where, like, the game will start at 8 and we'll be like, whatever, 10 to 8, we'll like, it's fine, we just need to reboot, this is gonna take long for anyway. So we've got used to this thing, like the fact that the meme exists, right, where Dota players are late. Everyone grows accustomed to it. Everyone grows accustomed to like Dota players are the worst, but gamers in general, we're all like, we're all late, so you all normalize it. So it's harder to actually enforce the rule because people think of it as more as a guideline than a rule in and of itself. But then if you force it, if you actually do a thing, like what he was mentioning about Metal State, he's 100% correct. I've never seen a late game from you guys. And I think it's once you make it clear that you won't accept that, people fall in line generally. But as long as there's leeway, people are always going to abuse the leeway.
Okay, so I want to add to that, okay? And it goes back to what I said earlier. Both parties need to be responsible. And I mentioned earlier the tournament organizers have expectations, as do the gamers and the MGOs, right? So my expectation is you guys be on time, okay? My promise to you as a tournament organizer is I will give a good production, good quality production, a good cast, and I will stream on time, every night. And I think the problem is we don't stream enough in this country. We don't have regular enough streams of games. So I think the gamers themselves feel, well, what's the point? I don't have to be on time because there's no one really waiting for me other than the other team. And who cares what they think? They're my opponents. And everybody thinks that they're better than everyone else, don't they?
That makes perfect sense, actually. Like the lack of streaming, it does create that situation. You don't feel accountable, right? Because who's gonna say be on time? Like, obviously, they probably don't expect that the tournament organizers are actually going to penalize them in any meaningful way. They know that there's nobody watching who's going to talk trash about the fact that they're always late. There's nobody, and exactly like you mentioned, the only person who's going to care is your enemy. And ideally, even if they do care and they get really mad, if they get tilted, usually that's a good thing for you, so you don't mind as much. I've never thought about it in that fashion. Yeah, but that makes perfect sense as well.
So from my perspective as Metal State, you would sign a contract that you agree to be on the server half an hour before the match goes live so that we can make sure PCs are working, connections to the servers are working, everybody can get onto the server. Any issues that you might need, you'd speak to the admin about it, clear everything up, and then at 7 on the dot, we go live with the stream and cross over to the players.
That make what in that situation though? What would you as a tournament organizer, if the players aren't there?
You forfeit. So we
right.
work on point system. So if, for example, there's online, there's no money involved, okay? So you would just forfeit the game. If you don't have a full team on the server, 15 minutes after we go live, you forfeit. Do it twice, you're out of the tournament.
Ooh.
If we're now at an event, on like a live event, for example, 15 minutes late in the group stages, you start, because now all teams get paid, right, all the way down to 8. So some guys might come and they'll be like, oh, well, it doesn't matter, we're still going to walk away with 80,000 Rand. That's when we start to say, 15 minutes late, you get docked 10% of your winnings. No show, 60%, and so on, and so that's where, as tournament organizers, we need to say, because there's money involved, right? People are sponsoring, people are investing in these things, so there has to be a certain sense of responsibility because we want to call ourselves professional gamers. And as a professional footballer or rugby player, what do you think happens to Cristiano Ronaldo if he just doesn't pitch up on match day? I mean, there's repercussions. There's contractual obligations that need to be adhered to. And that's what needs to happen in South Africa. And like I say, as an organizer, I'm responsible to make sure that the streams are available, that the casters are there, that the servers are there for them to play on, the chairs are there, the cameras are there, all of that stuff. If that doesn't happen, I'm responsible, I'm liable to the investors and the sponsors and so on.
Right.
And as an organizer, I would have my own financial implications, penalties or whatever from the sponsor's side if I don't adhere to my side of the rules.
100%. Now, before we swap topics, and on the initial question about what it takes to host a tournament, you spoke a lot about the priority of making sure the MGOs and the players are actually happy, right? So on that note, just a real world example, right? At the EGE Expo in Cape Town, where the Dota 2 Masters Finals were held, the teams that weren't playing in front in the main booths and the fancy things had to play at the back behind the stage. But now they, unfortunately, because of the design of how the expo and the stage was, there was so much noise that you couldn't hear. Players were complaining they couldn't hear each other over TeamSpeak. Now, you as a Metal State team, you guys have hosted up this tournament, and that's the setup. What did your guys' response be to something like that, with MGOs and players as your priority in hosting a tournament?
Well, if the tournament organizers were advised of this problem, they should have made every available into every possible option to ensure that that problem is rectified. Sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes it is just what it is. And in South Africa, we're growing an emerging esports brand and entity. So sometimes, we do have these issues. So when they first started playing sports, and I can guarantee you, the pitches weren't watered and they were perfectly manicured and ready for every football game. These guys were playing on hard surfaces with holes in them and divots in them from the previous game, or full of mud. But we as professional, and I use I use parentheses there because that's where we want to move to, as professional players, need to understand that sometimes these things happen. But also, as tournament organizers, we now need to make sure that this doesn't happen again, or you try and rectify it.
For sure. That's a really good answer.
I mean, Barry's been giving amazing answers all the time. It feels like I'm in the church of esports right now. Pastor Barry's on the...
Welcome, boys.
In the last podcast, one of the podcasts I've listened to of Barry's before, with Release the Geek, he was at the end of the podcast, coined the Minister of SA Esports. So nothing else to add to your CV, Mr. Barry?
Hardly.
On that note, though, for those of you watching, if you want a more personal insight into Barry Louzada, please go listen to that podcast. It was absolutely amazing. I will link this in the channel description as well.
Actually, that's pretty good. I have a question for you, Barry. So yeah, very often we all know that we're involved in esports, and one of the things that we have a problem with, though, is the fact that, like you were mentioning at the very beginning, right? These gigantic tournaments that seem to swallow up the entire year. Everybody seems to be clamoring for giant tournaments, and obviously we know for a fact that doesn't work, right? You can't necessarily grow a scene just through gigantic tournaments. Besides tournaments, what do you think needs to change in our approach? And this includes not just players, but players, talents, the journalists, stats people, etc. Everybody involved. What do we need to be doing differently to get the growth that we all feel we should be getting, but isn't necessarily materializing at the pace that it could just be we're being impatient? But what do you think needs to change in terms of what we do?
One thing people need to understand is that 10 years ago, ESL were hosting their tournaments in an ice rink that they bought, selling tickets for £10 and doing everything that they can to get people into the stadiums and into the venues, filling them up at 200-300 people a pop. And the simple fact is that was 10 years ago. South Africa, we're not far behind. Like Sam mentioned in our article, and we discussed this as well. Pro players don't even get out of bed for less than $1 million. South Africa, we're playing for R1 million. That's $50,000. It's like 10 times less than what the pro players are playing for. We're not pro yet. We don't have that kind of investment yet. But we're on our way. We're on our way. 3 years ago, I was at DreamHack, and they were playing for $75,000. So we're not far away. We just need to keep in mind that the entitlement needs to disappear. You are not entitled to get anything for nothing. Everybody that's here where they are today is because they've worked for it. It's because they have dedicated and committed a large portion of their life doing casting, pro player, manager. You look at Energy, you look at Bravado, you look at APG, you look at Flipside, Damage Control. These guys are there. They're not just there. They're not at the top because they've just got better players. They've been around for a while. They've been around for 4, 5, 6, some of them 12, 10, 15 years. You don't just... It's like you compare it to football again. The top clubs, Liverpool, Manchester, not maybe Liverpool so much. It hurts me to say that. But Chelsea, Arsenal, these clubs have been around for a long time. They've had investment in them. And the simple fact is that gamers need to support the scene. They need to watch. If we have 300 gamers in a tournament So Metal State had 16 teams. That's so we've got what, 80,
like 80 players, yeah.
80 players, right? But if you look at how many teams for Dota registered for the DGL?
Jesus.
Ooh, more than 100.
Many.
So let's go with 100. It's an easy number to work with. 5 times 100, 500 players, right? If each one of those players had one person in their life that could watch the stream, and every single Dota player that wasn't playing in the game watched the stream, that's 990 people. How do we not have that many people watching the stream at least? Even a final? Why not?
That's a really good question, actually. And
I'm not even going like overly like I'm not saying let's get 2,000, like 2 people per 500. Like, how do we not even have? Let's be simple. Why don't we even have half of that? 400 people, 450 people.
Well, something I think is a real problem in ZA esports, and this I'm gonna be completely frank on, is that game times are never announced. Stream sharing is done at the last minute. Fixtures, there's no place to go and look at what games are played, what's the log results for Dota or CSGO, for both Arena or DGL. It's really, how do you follow a scene that's unfollowable? If there's no place to go check what scores happen, how do you follow this? For football, there's at least 10 apps you can download for by the second updates on what's happening in a football game. For esports, we don't even have a Facebook post of the results that happened last weekend in SA. I feel like that's a little thing. You could just have one guy to make a Facebook post of these guys are playing at this time on the weekend, and these guys won at this time last weekend. Like,
No, I get that. So I totally get that. So tournament organizers have to be responsible for the advertising of their games. And, you know, as much as I like to say Metal State does that regularly, we don't have regular 900 people on our stream. No, we get to about 200, maybe 300 on a good night.
But that's 150 more than a VS Gaming Masters stream for Dota 2.
That's part of the problem, I think, as well, is that when it comes to and this is like part of, in my experience in the past, when you tell people in advance, right? So let's say you several days into it, it's a lot better now, especially with people having the websites and stuff, and people knowing in advance. But sometimes it happens that letting people know in advance doesn't always grab people's attention as much as it would always ideally want. Because I've had experiences where, let's say you advertise a stream like the day before and say, all right, guys, tomorrow at this and this time, I'm going to be streaming at this, and this is the game that's happening. And then come the actual day, you'll still have people in your mentions clamoring and saying, oh, when is that game happening? What time is it? And you're like, guys, the information's out there. So, but I think it could be part of it could be a cyclical problem, right? People are not used to the fact that things are planned in advance, so you don't take that into account.
The players know when they're gaming, when they're gamers. When last did you see a player say, "Hey guys, come and watch me on play tonight"?
Goliath Gaming players, credit to them, are the only guys I see.
Goliath
often
Gaming has some good stuff happening there, and there's an example. Bravado also does do it. So I know they try and do that as much as possible. But I think, you know, the onus is on the spectator as well. Like, I know the Matrix Maverick challenge is happening. Metal State runs us, you know, we try and do the streams every single week on the same day at the same time kind of thing, and that's how we try and circumvent that little issue. If people miss those public posts, they can kind of, okay, cool, we go into the Metal State stream at 7 o'clock. They're normally on at 7 on Monday, and that's what needs to happen. Is the consistency of the stream will also fix that.
For sure. And I think it's also not a problem just at tournament organizers. I also in organizations, I see how players sort of figure out their game times. It's not like okay, we're gonna play Monday 8 o'clock. It's always, oh, but this guy can't make it, oh, but that guy can't make it. So it's to organize games, it seems like a trickier thing than it should be in SA, you know?
When you put money behind it, people tend to become a lot more accountable and a lot more responsible.
That is very true. That is very, very true.
Let me get your take on this, right? I also feel like part of the problem is that especially as the people in the background, as not the players themselves, right? There is this sort of like interdiscipline competition that ends up panning out where it's very common now that you'll find CS talent, CS organizers interacting with the Dota people and interacting with Battlefield, LoL, or the LoL people, whatever. But it's actually not as common as you think. Like, it doesn't feel like the level of support that's, given how small the community is, right? It feels like we should be supporting every title. It feels like everybody wants international recognition for their chosen esports discipline, but not for every esport in the country. Like, there's too many Dota players, for example, or too many Dota talent that don't care at all about CS, which, it would be fine if it was established, if the scene was big enough that you had that freedom, but it doesn't seem like we do, right? It feels like that's like the onus should be on us as well. Like, well, there's no reason why I shouldn't be promoting a stream of Counter-Strike or a stream of LoL just as much as I would be promoting a Dota stream myself.
I think to be honest, up until very recently, Dota and Counter-Strike were running at the same time.
Yeah.
Tournaments, finals, all that kind of stuff. So South African gamers and players and talent have this like muscle memory where Dota's on, so CS must be on. So I need to choose between watching CS and Dota. And that's where the problem comes in, is that, I think only this year did DGL separate Dota from CS:GO. And
yeah,
and that was their thing and their planning. But need to have, again, set days. Dota is Wednesday, Counter-Strike is Tuesday. This is what needs to happen in our growing scene, so that when these two specific games genres in esports take off and they have their own following and their own awesome casters and they have 4,000 or 5,000 people watching it, that's when it doesn't matter anymore. But the simple truth is that you also have a lot of cross-pollination. Prophecy, Hellbird, they kind of, we're also short on talent. There's not a lot of talent out there. One of the reasons why Metal State did the Carstar thing. And jokes aside, we had 28 people enter, and most of them were Overwatch, Rocket League, and League of Legends casters.
I mean, I got to meet all my fellow Metal State finalists at the DGC. We were all happened to be casters there, minus the League of Legends guy, I forget his name, who I thought was very good. And after having listened to all the clips of their casting and meeting those people, I am very confident to say, watch the space for all those people. They all really impressed me.
There is. And unfortunately, that's the thing. For Metal State, sure, only one person is going to be a winner. But the simple fact is now we have opened up the door. Those 4 or 5 guys have gotten enough exposure. We've given them I don't feel they needed it, but we've given them the permission to, like, hey, you guys are casters. You're actually really good, and there's a lot of people that think that you're good. So go and do something. And
for sure.
And there's also this little thing where, people must understand that casting also isn't easy.
No, it's not.
It's not something you can just sit down and do. And and casters are always the first guys to get flack. Everyone in South Africa is like, yo, you must cast like the internationals. Those guys get just as much flack as local casters. But the simple fact is that it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of work and time and dedication to keep yourself up to date in a very, very volatile industry in South Africa, because teams and players are leaving and changing all the time, because there's no sense of security. There's no consistency within the esports scene. Nothing's getting streamed. Nothing's happening for 9 months. The simple truth is that we need to find a way to calm this whole scene down, and everybody just needs to be, as the great man himself, Ron Burgundy, aka Will Ferrell, said in everybody love everybody.
Anchorman, lol.
Oh,
No, that wasn't Anchorman. It was the
Was it?
basketball. Ron Burgundy's in the Anchorman, but it was the basketball movie that he did.
I know which movie you're talking about.
That's
No, that's the racing car movie.
yeah,
man.
that's the racing one. Yeah. What was
The
it?
basketball movie. I'll tell you guys in a second.
Okay, yeah.
Semi-pro.
Semi-pro.
Semi-pro. Yeah,
Park
that's
Champ.
it.
That's the
Yeah.
one.
That was the one.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of I don't know if animosity is the right word in South African gaming culture. I do agree with you.
I don't believe it's animosity. I just think that right now everybody in the gaming community has waited their whole lives. They've spent so much of their time and their effort committing to this, having their loved ones, whoever it is, their friends, whatever, give them shit about being a gamer, a nerd, whatever. They've played games, they've committed time, and now it's starting to happen, and it's a stampede, and everybody needs to realize that there's enough for everybody. Just calm down, just relax, everything will
sure.
happen.
Making me feel bad for retweeting Metal State Dota 2 tournament with the pitchforks of all the other people now, you know?
They can. The thing is that the pitchforks must come, the guys must chat. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. And Metal States have run 5 tournaments this year.
Oh, that's impressive.
They may not all be Dota and all kinds of things that people want to see, but there's a process. There's a
For
thing
sure.
that so we started our first tournament, and then there were things that we needed to fix. And I understand CS:GO, I understand FPS, I understand the inner workings. So it's easier for me to run a tournament like CS:GO and fix the problems than to try and go and run a tournament a tournament for a game I don't know, and then still try and fix the problems. So when I'm ready and when I'm comfortable with all the problems, and I'm at that point now, I can start to then say, cool, let's pick up another game. Let's do Counter-Strike and Overwatch. Or let's, you know what I'm
And
saying,
Rocket
though.
League.
You know,
And
sorry?
I'm saying, yeah, no matter, like, the point, you're making a really good point, right? That not jumping into things before you're ready.
Don't want to water and dilute it, and then the Counter-Strike tournament takes a knock because you're trying to put too much effort into the second tournament. Once you've got Counter-Strike running like a well-oiled machine, and it's literally the click of a button, and everybody understands it. It's the first time as Metal State we did this, right? So we're now less than a year down the line, but we're down the line, and now everybody understands what they need to do. So it becomes more a case of like, oh, I know what to do in this situation. This is what needs to happen. But in the beginning, you're like, holy crap, what do we need to do here? How do we need to do this? Oh, shit, we've actually completely forgot about doing that. So now we're at a stage where it's like, oh, we've got all that, we've done that, blah, blah, blah. Now it's like, okay, we're comfortable now to add another one to the mix. Instead of going, let's run 5 tournaments.
Right.
And who cares?
It's sort of like the argument with the MGOs that have like 15 teams, but okay, but now what are you doing for those teams, right?
Absolutely. And the simple truth of the matter is in South Africa, there's probably maybe 3 or 4 games that you could possibly pitch teams for. And you need to be well on your way to knowing what you're doing, because you're dealing with people there. You're dealing with human beings, and they have given themselves, they have committed their time and their loyalty to your brand. And if you don't want people rising up with pitchforks and torches, you need to ensure that you have the capacity to look after them.
Very good point. Now, so you guys actually hosted 5 events this year. That's very impressive. But I noticed a lot of the things you guys did here, like the Matrix Warehouse Challenge, the Valkyrie tournament, and even the caster competition, for example, is things around the sort of up and coming of the scene, trying to build things up, not just like, oh yeah, we want bravado and energy here to do things. What is your guys' motivation behind doing that? What is yours and the Metal State team motivation to doing the things for the up and coming of the scene?
So I love Bravado, I love Energy, but I love all the top teams. I used to play and compete with them. But the simple fact is that the guys at the bottom are the guys that end up feeding the top teams. If we can put nutrients into the ground, the grass will grow. And if you pick a blade of grass out of a full garden of grass, you won't notice it. But in South Africa, we currently have a couple of bushels. Those bushels are Bravado, Energy, Damage Control, and then one little blade of grass pops up out of the ground, and we pluck it. We need to cement. We need to have the growth of esports across the whole spectrum. And if you can do that, then the teams like Bravado and Damage Control and Goliath, the Big Five, will flourish, because then they have a bevy of players to pick from. Or we'll have new teams popping up to contend for the title or whatever it is.
That the rationale as well that you guys have for things like the Valkyrie Challenge, for trying to get women into the game as well, into the scene?
That's something Sam is really passionate about, and so am I. I mean, when she came to me with the idea, I'm like, it's so awesome. I mean, it's why haven't we spent more time committing to the ladies in the esports community? You must understand, for every guy gamer out there, there's a girlfriend, there's a wife, there's a sister that's involved as well to a certain extent, whether it's a sister watching over the brother's shoulder, or a girlfriend watching Desperate Housewives, or what's a Vampire Diaries while the boyfriend's playing. Sorry, I need to come up a little bit closer to the times. But they're and to some point, some of them actually like, hey, I like this. I'll play. I'll join in. But the simple fact is that we're all, and it's the one thing I've always said about gaming. It's an equal playing ground. There's no, you can have one leg and still be good at Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
You can be the really fat kid, example Exhibit A, and not run super fast or whatever, but you still run as fast as everybody else in Counter-Strike. Boy, girl, no physicality, no nothing. Just your brain and the way you play the game.
Yeah, but that's something we still need to communicate to our community, to the people in the game, man. There's a level of vitriol that comes up whenever, like, even around the Valkyrie channel. Like, when I first saw that, I was like, well, this seems like it makes perfect sense to me. And I could not understand why there were guys legitimately angry. Guys saying, no, what the hell is this? This is pure sexism. Now they're maligning against guy gamers now to try and push these guys who aren't going to be as good. But I don't know. Like,
I go back to the Stampede thing. People are so scared that they're not going to have the opportunity to kind of not solidify, but almost the word, man. Almost justify their reason for playing games. You know, as gamers, the one thing everybody says, and we've all to some extent had it, is like, it's a waste of time, nothing will ever come of it, and now all of a sudden there's tournaments happening, money, real money being played for, and the opportunity to almost like stick it to the man, they feel is being taken away from them because they feel more entitled. And I don't think it has anything to do with sex here. It just has something to do with people feel that they're more entitled to it than other people. And there we go back all the way around, full 360 to entitlement. And it's not something that's specific to just Dota players.
Oh, that is so true. I love that analogy so much. I just feel like a fanboy sitting here listening to you, Mr. Anthrax.
That's a real thing, though. That there's this issue of entitlement. It's something that we have to grapple with, especially as South Africans, right? South Africans seem, even in contrast to other entitled people, we seem not like the most entitled, but we're pretty entitled in general. And I'm not sure why this is. What do you guys think? To make a small political tangent in this, but why is it the case that as South Africans we are super entitled, and especially people on the continent, other African people will tell you straight up that yeah, you guys need to do something. You need to check yourselves. Especially when we go visit their shores, people act very, very, very much. You know that entire meme of the Americans traveling the world and hoping that the rest of the world is exactly like America and demanding that it be so. And this meme is unfortunately propagated by our people as well, especially when we travel the continent.
I don't actually agree with that to a certain extent. I agree with the fact that we act or feel entitled as South Africans, and I believe that's purely because we're a very young country still. I mean, we're old, but the constitution and the way that we think has changed drastically for the better, okay? And this is a very like scary topic for a lot of people in this country. But the simple fact is that everybody is still scared of what could happen. You know, but it's not going to happen. We're past that, and everything is, you know, people are different. But one thing I've noticed as a South African when I travel abroad is that people say we're extremely friendly people.
Yes, that's true as well.
And whenever there's tourists that come to South Africa, we're always welcoming. We always open our homes to those people. We always want to come and have a braai, come and have a drink. You know, any excuse for us to have a beer is a great excuse. So to a certain extent, it's there. But I mean, it doesn't have to be there. We're all responsible for how we feel, all of us. No one is to blame for anything but ourselves. There's no decision that you can ever say has been made that someone can blame someone else. Because the simple truth of the matter is that you as a person have the complete and utter choice to say yes or no to something. No one can force you. They can hold a gun to your head, it doesn't matter. You still have a choice. The consequences might be dire, but the simple fact of the matter is that choice is still yours.
It feels like the overarching theme of what Barry's been saying entirely is about responsibility, right? Us taking responsibility for our own actions, our own scene, not waiting for like a savior to come from the outside, not waiting for suddenly the product will get
ESL
better.
isn't going to come here and save us.
Yeah, we have to do it, right? We have to actually make positive actions.
We need to make Valve want to come to South Africa. We need to make ESL want to come to South Africa. Want to come here. Not you know, and sitting down here and like kicking and screaming, we're at the bottom of the world, we have shit ping, blah blah. Well, so what? Like just then be better at what you're doing currently with what you've got. You know, people have come from far worse places. And achieved bigger things. So we must be responsible for what we do as a community in South African esports. And my concern is that we aren't acting like a community. Dota guys sit in their Facebook group and bitch and moan. The Counter-Strike guys sit in their Facebook group and bitch and moan. And like I said, we can't even get 100 viewers on a stream.
I mean,
but we've got 3,000 members in CSGO and 3,000 members in Facebook, and let's say that 50% of those are in both the same group. We can't get 1% of those Facebook people watching a stream.
It is kind of sad, but so as a guy, I haven't been around as long as somebody like you, Barry. Of course, I've been born like you already, like a esports guy by the time I was born. I've been fairly new to the scene as a newcomer, and I think, in my experience at least, I think people have been it's been a very warm community I'm going into. I feel very welcomed as a new person in the scene, I feel like there's also a lot of good. I know there's a lot of you always get those bitches and whiners and moaners, but there's also people who say, hey man, you're doing a good job. Well done, There's also that kind of buzz going. There's also a guy who says, maybe you should move your mic 2 centimeters back when you're casting a game so it doesn't pick up your breathing. There's this good ways, there's bad as well. And I would say in my case, it's at least been 75% good and like maybe 25% bad.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there aren't people out there and that esports is like a lost cause in South Africa. That's not what I'm saying. I started Metal State because I believe in esports and the people in esports here in South Africa. And there are people that are working hard, tirelessly, no matter, and I mean, a lot of people don't know what happens behind the scenes. As much as there's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad, and that's to be expected. And it's the good things that happen in esports that keeps me coming back, keeps me getting up in the morning and going to work at Metal States and sitting there and figuring out new ways to say no to Dota tournaments. But but it's what keeps me coming back and has kept me in this to the point where I've given up my job and my security to do this.
That's pretty amazing, and
it's the people, and like I said, those people are there and they're allowed to be upset, but they also need to be responsible.
For sure.
That's the simple truth of it, and there are good people out there. There are thousands of good people out there.
But we just have to work in tandem, right? It doesn't help.
Absolutely. Don't sit there in front of a stream and saying, "Oh, this guy's a piece of shit. He doesn't know how to do this." Why don't you message the guy? Why don't you say to him, "Hey, listen, sound like shit. Just do this." And the person receiving that criticism must go, "You know what? Maybe you're right. Let me have a look at it and see what I can do to fix it." Or, you know what? Thanks. I'll have a look at it. Let me see what I can do. And don't do anything about it. But don't go and start threads on Facebook and Twitter and like, you're a piece of shit, and no, you're a piece of shit. It doesn't bode well. And what people don't realize is the brands that want to invest in esports are in all of those groups. You don't think that they're there. They're there. They're watching and they're listening, and they're there because they want to invest in esports. But then all of a sudden it's like, well, this is a little toxic. I don't really want to associate my brand with this.
I mean, there was that whole controversy when myself, Schlinks and Odu did the podcast at Blue Oceans, when our two players one player jokingly said trash and the other one said clowny. The whole reaction from that was,
I don't know,
quite entertaining, to be honest.
What happened? So maybe we shouldn't go into it.
That was yeah, man. That was beautiful, actually.
It was okay. So what happened was,
you can edit this out, yeah.
Myself, a player from WRG named Schlinks, and a player at the time from Energy, Odu, two very old guys and good players in the scene.
I know Wesley.
Podcast with Donnie's new team manager from his EU team manager, Clavasaria, a young kid, Blue Oceans, and we had a podcast, and he asked us to describe the SAC esports scene in one word at the start of the podcast, and one player said trash as a joke, and the other one said clowny. I said growing. And then the community outrage just from that alone was hilarious. It's the most action I've seen on Dota related stuff on Twitter ever.
Do you want to know something? And I don't know if you want to edit this out, but here's an interesting piece of information for you. Think about when you were younger, right? And what happened every time somebody called you out and they caught you, they bust you.
Right.
What you did. You responded in anger, or you responded in a way that was like, you know what I mean? It's like almost like when you get caught out for something that you were doing wrong, you kind of almost get angry, as in like, who the hell are you to call me that or say that I'm that? You don't know anything, blah blah blah. People who tend to feel guilty about something tend to react in a more of an aggressive way than anything else. It's a lot harder for someone to say, you know what, you're right, I am a clown.
True.
I mean, you know what's really funny? I made sort of exactly that same point. It didn't go well for me. So, but you're nicer than I am.
No, you got it in esports.
That's arguable.
In esports, you got to pick your battles.
No, for sure.
You genuinely have to pick your battles, and Facebook and Twitter, not the place to do
Places to do it.
Tone of voice, body language, all of that. It doesn't work. It doesn't work, and those people aren't there to listen to your logic. They're there because they're angry, and they can be angry. That's fine. That's okay.
So talking about anger, I heard a rumor going around, Barry. It's quite a crude rumor, but I just wanna, you can confirm or deny this, but rumor has it that your vape has been up another person's butthole.
No one's butthole. Down someone's pants in the front, but not their butthole. I can be completely honest with you. The person who did that knows better in their whole life not to do something like that. So I don't think it actually made physical contact. Don't ever touch another man's vape.
Cardinal sin number 1: touching
Yes.
another man's vape.
So on that bombshell, folks, we're going to end the show. Thank you so much, Snare, for co-casting with me, and Barry, Anthrax, Louzada. See, at the end of the podcast, I can get it right, for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure.